Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
for films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Samuel,
And my name is Jayden.
and this is a podcast where we rewatch classic or current films and then decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you. You can find the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you listen to podcasts. Today, we're going to be talking about what movie, Jayden?
The dreaded run from it. Destiny
legendary.
still arrives. Yes, we're going to be doing The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
We just watched it together. So rewatch first. We never actually sat down. I believe we never actually sat down together and watched the film and then immediately chatted about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we haven't.
So that's the first. It's gonna be interesting because we literally just watched it maybe like 20 minutes ago. We got to the end, and we were chatting throughout, like on and off.
Yep.
We weren't as chatting as much as say we were throughout the Snyder Cut, for example.
Yeah.
Because that is another film that we watched.
Oh, yeah, true.
Watched
We did
together.
do that, actually, yeah.
But we kept some things hidden from each other
It was hard, I must
Yeah.
say. It was very hard.
because naturally you want to turn to
Yeah.
and say, isn't that ridiculous, or how
And-
cool is that?
Especially you, because it's one of your favorites, your favorite film.
Yeah.
And, I do it as well. You want to, let the other person know that this little moment, that little moment, what's happening. I did it with Baby Driver's, Edgar Wright's Baby Driver as well. So
Right.
I'm not bashing on you, but it's fun to do it, yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was released in 2014. It is the second installment of the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, the second and the last. I'll try not to cry. So obviously starring Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man shortly afterwards was cancelled and then made room for Sony to then put or provide the rights back to Marvel, and then they gave us Tom Holland in Civil War 2 years later. So, yeah, look, in terms of critical reception, obviously not well received. In terms of monetary, it did okay.
Yeah.
You got like 600, 700 mil, but Sony probably weren't as happy as they would have liked to be. That's why
Yeah.
I think they were so quick to get rid of it.
To reboot it, yeah.
And especially, it didn't help with the fact that, the MCU was building steam at this stage, building up to Civil War. 2014 was Guardians, right? Guardians of the
Yep.
Galaxy came out. So you have Sony thinking, okay, shall we continue this franchise that is not doing as well as we would like it to? Or for free, shall we just hitch a ride with Marvel?
The MCU.
And to be
yeah.
honest, I think the best business decision was made for them.
Yeah.
But probably creatively, not sure. It's up for debate, isn't it?
Well, look, I think the MCU offers a lot of potential in terms of, storytelling and bringing in all these other characters that, fans want to see it with. I mean, Sony strictly has to stick with the people that are available to them, Doc Ock and the Vulture and all of those characters. So, it's going to reach a certain point where Sony runs out of characters because they've only got, limited rights to these characters, and, they're eventually going to use them all. And
Right.
Marvel has a very, broad slate of characters.
Yeah, well, they have everyone else.
They've got everyone else, so I think eventually it was bound to happen, but, whether The Amazing Spider-Man 3 should have happened, I think that's always going to be up for debate.
So that's a bit of factual information about the film. Story overview. We usually go to Letterboxd, but considering I'm here and I've watched this film probably more times than is probably recommended.
Yep.
How
many times do you think you've actually watched it?
Well, the thing is, all right. Well, let me tell you a bit of a story about the history of this movie and what it means to me. Okay.
Yep.
Because it's not just like one day in 2018, I sat down and was like, oh, let's watch this random Spider-Man movie. And oh my gosh, it's my favorite. Mm-hmm. So I watched this movie in the cinemas, as did you, I think.
Yep.
And before then, I was a DC fan, but not, I was a DC fan growing up, like in my younger years, because I would watch like the cartoons and stuff. I watched a bit of Spider-Man, but not too much. If you were to ask me to name a superhero, I probably would have said Batman, then Superman, then probably like Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But then later on, when I got to 2014, I went along to Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Hadn't seen the first one.
Oh, really?
No, and I didn't watch the first Amazing Spider-Man until 2019.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think I might have watched it before you. I actually remember it was very similar to you. I watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2 first.
Yeah.
But I can't remember when I watched the first film. I think it was before you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went with Mum to the cinemas to watch this Spider-Man movie. Obviously very excited because, it's superheroes. Mm-hmm. And then, just having this incredible experience of, it was like being on a roller coaster ride, watching Spider-Man go through the city and having that on the big screen. Like my stomach genuinely was like, it was like I was, going up and down with Spider-Man. And it was just such an incredible experience. Mm-hmm. I didn't register much of the story elements. Yeah. I thought Electro was looked interesting. Mm-hmm. At that age, you don't really care about critical reception. You just see what looks cool.
What's fun, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, I came out of this movie and by the way, this was the first major Spider-Man movie that I've actually sat down and watched. Mm-hmm. So then my view is if you were to say who's Spider-Man, I would have pointed to Andrew Garfield and said that's Spider-Man.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of people at that time were still probably a bit hurt by the fact that Tobey Maguire is not Spider-Man anymore. So already I'm a bit biased because I don't know the other Spider-Man, right? Yeah. And I feel like everyone has that sort of bias with the first one you watch.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think it's, the first film you watch is the deepest connection that you have.
Yeah.
It's like with most films, if you grow up with the character, you just tend to get connected with them more than, say a reboot. You hate Tom Holland's Spider-Man, so yeah.
Right, so I watched this movie in the cinemas and look, I wanted to be Spider-Man for a couple of weeks after it. I was like...
I think everyone does, right?
Yeah. I was like, okay, where's this spider going to come from? When's it going to bite me? When can I start swinging around?
It's like, getting your letter from Hogwarts. It's like, I want to be a wizard. It's like that.
It's like, okay, I need some sort of time frame on this universe. How long am I going to have to wait until I can finally become Spider-Man? Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, still hasn't happened. Still waiting for that day to come. But regardless, so obviously, this movie didn't become my life or anything. I enjoyed it, and every now and then, I'd see it on TV and I'd watch it again, or and then a couple years passed and suddenly Netflix becomes a thing, and it was on Netflix for quite a while. I'm not sure why, but only the second one was on Netflix.
Yeah.
So every now and then I would just watch the movie again, and was quite surprised to learn that nobody else really liked it. But the thing is with that, nobody else liked the movie. So in a way that made it even more special for me. Because it was that's my, it's it deepens my connection with the movie.
Yeah.
And one day I remember I was on a school trip, right? And it's still on Netflix. So I downloaded it on Netflix to have a watch on my phone. Mm-hmm. And so I'm watching it, on my phone, probably not the best viewing experience, But so I'm watching away, having a great time, and like still don't really know why I like the movie that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the end, and I'm like, hang on, this movie was released in 2014.
When did you go on this trip?
Maybe like
Roughly
2017.
2017. Okay. You're like, hold up.
Yeah. So, and I had been following the MCU as well. Like this really pushed me into the Marvel universe. You know, I started to watch like the Avengers and Iron Man.
Yep.
And I was incredibly excited. Don't get me wrong, for Spider-Man and Civil War. Mm-hmm. But the part of my brain just didn't click to that there could only be one Spider-Man. Like I just love the movie so much, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 so much, that I hadn't even like thought about, okay, where's the next one?
Yeah.
So there I am watching it. I watch it all the way through, have a great time, probably not talking to my friends or whatever, just, on my phone watching Andrew Garfield.
You were immersed in Andrew Garfield.
And so, this is like maybe a year or so after Civil War came out, which I love as well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, whatever happened to The Amazing Spider-Man 3? So I look it up and it was cancelled. And that really broke my heart in many ways. I was quite heartbroken. And then I started to research why. And then obviously, when things like that, like things that happen, like even nowadays with like, the whole Snyderverse debacle and stuff, like it can make you quite angry if you're a fan, you're invested in, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Obviously, this whole franchise didn't really work out. So, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. Mm-hmm. But then eventually, maybe like 2 years later, I went back and watched the first one. And then I've sort of always just had a really deep love for the second movie. Like I enjoyed the first movie.
Yep.
Nowhere near the nostalgic sort of love for it. Because I've only probably seen the first one maybe like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Whereas Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably the movie that I've watched the most in my life, period.
Yep.
Like I've probably watched this.
It's hard to pinpoint, right?
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah.
But like I can sort of, because I imagine like I would watch it every now and then, like, because obviously I watch it more now because I own the disc and I own the 4K. But I've probably watched this movie at least 20 times.
Let's do a bit of a quick math
At least.
40.
I've only been alive. Well, this movie and I have only been alive. The movie's only been out for 2014 it came out.
7 years.
Yeah.
And you've watched a collective of 50 hours of this film.
Probably.
If I've done my math correct. We are law students after all.
Yeah.
Law and business,
Yeah, so we should be better, but we should be better than most. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, I've watched this movie quite a lot. And so I sort of know it back to front, right? So
Yeah.
that brings me to the synopsis. Where we left off in the last movie, Spider-Man has defeated the Lizard, obviously, and Captain Stacy has died as a result. And this is the big thing that defines these two movies, is this promise that Captain Stacy and Spider-Man form.
Yeah.
Because obviously Spider-Man's developing a relationship with Gwen Stacy, which we all know is a doomed relationship by the nature. Like Gwen Stacy, the character is doomed. Like that's the interesting aspect about Gwen Stacy. But
Well, let's keep it spoiler free.
well, in terms of the comics.
In terms
of
of
comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so Captain Stacy is dying, and he says, "I want you to promise me that you'll stay away from Gwen."
Yep.
And then Peter says, "Yeah, of course, I'll do it." And he does for a bit, but then he reneges on that promise, and then The Amazing Spider-Man 1 ends. Mm-hmm. And this picks up a year later, I'm pretty sure.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he's got a new suit. Mm-hmm. And he's still dating Gwen.
Yep.
And he's obviously, if somebody dies in front of you and they tell you to keep a promise and you break that promise, it's obviously going to cause a bit of emotional, distress for you.
And I feel like the whole premise of this keeping a secret thing, it could have been done very well, but I don't know. It was just handled a bit poorly,
Right.
and like how they went along. You know how they went back and forth, back and
Yeah.
forth. Yeah, it was just a bit of a miss on my part.
Right.
I like the concept. I think it could have done very well,
Sure.
but it just wasn't handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, Peter Parker is going a bit flip floppy on Gwen Stacy. He wants to date her, or he's too guilty to, and that forces Gwen Stacy to break up with him. And then Harry Osborn comes back, old friend of Peter's, who we all know is destined to become a certain villain. And meanwhile, we have this this nerd who is untreated by society, who falls into a tank of eels.
Society.
And he therefore becomes how to quite describe it,
Yeah.
a big blue man.
A big blue man.
And so those are our two villains. Actually, we have three villains, sorry. There's three villains in this
Three
movie.
villains.
Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I am the rider.
Yeah. So we have three villains. We have the Gwen Stacy relationship plot, and then we also have another plot about Peter Parker's parents that comes in a bit at the start and a bit towards the end of the film as well. Meanwhile, also, obviously, Aunt May is still alive, and, talking to Peter every now and then.
God, there's so many colliding storylines.
There's a lot of things going on, isn't there?
I really think they bit off more than they could chew.
Also, Black Cat.
Black Cat. But, it's probably a good thing that they didn't use her as much as they probably should have.
Right.
Because for 2.5 hours already, introducing another character who has
Yeah.
her own storyline.
Right.
And, they already cut MJ out of it. What were they thinking?
Yeah.
There's so much going on. And when you compare it to, the first film, the first film's a lot more simple. We have one villain to start with, the Lizard.
It's a good formula, the one villain formula.
The one villain formula tends to work, right? Why bring in three? Maybe they were rushed for time because they wanted to set up the Sinister Six for, the third film. And you've only got 2 films to do it, so you have to introduce a number of characters.
Right.
But why did you do 1 in the first film and then do 3 in the second film? And, where were the other 2? I don't know. It's weird how they did it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of doomed to fail in a certain sense because they couldn't work with all of the colliding storylines and make something good out of it. It was way too much, yeah.
Yeah. Also note that this movie is directed by Mark Webb, who's the same guy who directed the first movie, also directed 500 Days of Summer, has since directed Gifted, which is quite...
Gifted.
Which is the one with
Affleck?
Mackenzie, what's her name? Really young girl,
Yeah.
and Chris Evans.
Yep.
film.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's quite... it's not a mind-blowingly good film, but it's nice. It's nice and cute.
Yep.
Mark Webb's very good at doing, those sort of, relationship-based movies.
Yeah. And you can see that shining through in this film, actually.
For sure.
They should have stuck with it.
Right.
They used it intermittently, which is
Yes.
probably not the best thing to do, because that, for me, was the highlight of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see where the studios come in and gone, Mark Webb, this is
Yeah.
what we need.
I want, Green Goblin on
Right.
crack,
Right. Herpes Green Goblin.
Yeah.
But yeah, but to talk about Mark Webb, he has owned it. And a lot of directors won't do that. He has said, look, the studio did want certain things to be done, but at the end of the day, it was my decision and I went for it.
Cool.
So, mad respect to the guy, because usually in that instance, the director would just be like, look, I was forced into doing these things. I wanted to tell a story that was, I wanted to do this cut of the film and,
Are you bashing on Zack Snyder right now?
No,
man?
I'm not. But other directors will.
Yeah.
When movies become dumpster fires,
It's easy to blame the studio, right?
Exactly, because they're the evil executives
And
that only want money
And you're gonna have your fans back you up because it's Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
How could he ever do wrong?
Right.
I'm using it as an example.
Yeah,
right?
go for it. Yeah, it's
but,
okay.
It's easy to just throw all of the blame onto a studio and have your fans back you up.
Yeah.
And like you said, credit to Mark Webb for just
Owning
taking the bullet, man. You made not a good film, an okay film, not a good film, and people know that it's not good, and you took the bullet and you
Just owned it.
you owned it.
Yeah.
So you don't see that often.
And I do think he does have things to be proud of in this film that we'll get to. So yeah, obviously, it's not like he should be embarrassed by the fact that he made this film, at least in my opinion anyway. So let's go to some general thoughts, okay? This is the question that usually we start off with. It's usually quite an easy question, but for this one it might be quite difficult. But would you recommend this film to someone who hasn't seen it? So we'll stay spoiler-free for now, but that's our first spoiler-free sort of question.
I'm just trying to think if I recommended the first one. Are we talking about if the viewer hasn't seen the first one as well, or?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit tricky, isn't it?
It's a bit tricky.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Give me, obviously you're not going to recommend this to an older audience, but superhero fans, is this one to check out?
Look, I think it's a lot more fun than I remember it being. And to be honest, I think it's more fun than the first, just because it's, easy to just
agree,
hate.
actually.
It's more vibrant.
Yeah.
It's got brighter colors in it. It's more attractive.
More things going on,
More
which
things going
which
on.
is a bit of a negative, but does make things exciting.
Yeah. You always have something to look at, whereas the first film was more dark. So yeah, I think this film's more. It's more fun, more enjoyable, even though you kind of lose some credibility,
Some basic
and some
story fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes a film good, you kind of lose that. So yeah, I would recommend it if I'm going to be completely honest. I had a fun time hating on it, just picking apart all of the bad things about it and all of the good things about it, because there's a lot of good in it as well. Yeah.
Oh, I'll take that answer. That's very nice. Very nice for you to say. Obviously, yeah, I would recommend this to everyone. It's sort of, wouldn't be in my character to not recommend this. I think, I don't disagree with a lot of the criticism that it gets. Obviously, we'll get to some of the things that I do agree and disagree with. But in terms of the movie itself, I think it's quite underrated, or at least overhated. I think that's the better way to put it.
Not underrated,
Overhated. Oh, that's the good one. I think the first one, underrated. Second one, overhated.
Okay.
Because there seems to be this sort of trend of, if a comic book movie or a superhero movie is not fantastic, a lot of people will jump on.
Yeah.
But I think this film has a lot of redeeming qualities that certain other superhero movies simply lack. It's just like things like the relationship and the effects and the music, and there's a lot of really good fundamental parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just breaks down by injecting a bit too much in and not really delivering on lots of things that it sets up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think this is sort of overhated, and the Spider-Man community, obviously, when I first realized that I loved this movie, I thought I was alone. But now that platforms like Instagram and stuff, I've really started following Spider-Man accounts. A lot of people really do like this franchise. I wouldn't go as far to say it's a cult classic or anything like that. It's far from that.
Yeah.
I would say something like Man of Steel or Batman v Superman has become a cult classic.
Okay.
In terms of the fan following that it has. There's a lot of diehard fans who really believe that is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah. Well, wow.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing with cult classics.
How do these people exist?
No, trust me, they do. But yeah, in terms of the Spider-Man community, a lot of people especially enjoy at least Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And that was a pleasant surprise to me, because I thought it was just Andrew sucks, the movies suck, it's all bad. And I'm just, here watching the movie by myself 25 times.
Yeah. I think the Spider-Man community it's very separated, everyone has their favorite Spider-Man and they stick with that Spider-Man.
Right.
You do that as well. You're no culprit of that.
I'm very biased. Everyone's got their favorite.
With me though, I'm always saying, it says it right there. Toby.
Yeah, for the viewers, I have a whiteboard in my room that is
Yep.
repeatedly graffitied by my guests. Originally, I think it said Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. Is what
Something
I
like
put
that.
up.
And then I changed it.
And then you
Yeah.
vandalized it to say Andrew isn't or something.
Yeah.
And Heidi's since come in and written the Tom Holland is the best, and
Yeah.
so I've had to correct that. And
It's gone through multiple stages.
yeah. So what stage is that now, Jayden?
Tom Holland is Tom Holland isn't the best Spider-Man. Andrew is the best, and my addition to it, Toby. But as I was saying, everyone has their favorite Spider-Man, and I've always said, Toby's my favorite, but I honestly need to rewatch the films to get like a solid answer to that, because I love Andrew, as Spider-Man. I think he's great in the role, and he adds a lot of emotional depth to it. I also really like Tom Holland's portrayal of it, even though you might not like it.
Hey, Civil War is one of my favorite MCU movies.
I quite like how he's very quippy. He's very...
Who, Andrew?
No, Tom Holland.
Oh, right.
And his films, Homecoming more so than Far From Home, it's very... it's easy to watch, it's easy to digest.
Right.
So I really like all of the Spider-Mans, but I'm not one to, love one of them and, praise it.
You're going to come out and deliberately hate on another one.
Yeah. I kind of like all of their portrayals, if I'm going to be honest. But I need to rewatch all of the films again, more so Toby's trilogy. I really want to watch number 3 again, because
No, you don't.
you've said a lot of bad things about it.
Goodness me, you don't want to watch that movie.
What I'm trying to say here is that, I think it's fair to give everyone a chance, because...
For sure.
They each deliver something different to the role that
Yeah.
you can appreciate. And like I said, I think Andrew's portrayal is very emotional, and he's a good actor,
Yeah.
He's not just some superhero dude who does a bunch of superhero films.
Right.
He does established films as well.
Yeah.
And he kind of brings that into the role, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Okay, so staying spoiler-free at the moment, what did you think of the visuals of this movie?
Yeah, man. I mean, come on. The web swinging, right? How did they, go down? They went, okay, Toby's wasn't good. We all know that.
But also, it would have, it's almost destined to be crap,
I mean, 2000, right? Or 2002. Somewhere around there. I think it's 2002. 2002, it's pretty good for the year.
Yeah, sure.
So we can't really hate on that.
Yeah.
And then...
Goodness me, it looks atrocious.
I know, it looks bad. Like the freeze frame, background. It's bad.
Yeah. Yikes.
Anyways, and then we come to Toby's films. 2012 was the first.
Andrew's films.
2012 was the first.
Yeah.
Great web swinging. Even more so in the second. I mean, come on.
Goodness
some of those
me.
shots are so good. And they feel real. The CGI feels real.
The camera moves in a much more realistic
I
fashion.
love the shots. There's some of those intro shots where we have, a camera mounted to his chest.
Right.
And then...
the first person view, sort
the
of
first person
GoPro-esque.
view is so good, man.
Right.
And then we come to 2016 Civil War. No. 2016 we see a bit of web swinging, but, 2017 Homecoming.
He hardly does web swing.
What happened, man?
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man. Where's your web swinging?
Yeah.
And I've always said the MCU has a problem with their CGI. It's just so bland. But man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 has so much charm about, all of its CGI and web swinging, and
It really does look beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really is night and day, the difference. You put this movie in on 4K and you will, if you sat a person down and said this movie came out last year, I believe them. It just looks that good.
If they said it came out this year, I'd believe them.
Yeah.
It's still relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't look outdated at all.
Yeah, it holds up.
And I think it will for some time, for at least another 10 years.
I mean, if we've got 20... When did Far From Home come out? 2018? 2019?
Yeah.
If it's looking like that in 2019, I think this is going to stand around for a bit.
It's evolving just backwards. Yeah. And look, let's try not to hate or to draw upon the other Spidey films as much. But look, I think the comparison is due for the bad example, because you can see the green screen. Because it's not like he's actually swinging through New York in this movie. It is green screen. But it just looks so much better.
I know.
They must have had more time. The departments must have been more focused and detailed. I'm not sure, man. Maybe they filmed the movie quicker and so had more time in post-production, or maybe the MCU movies are just so quick, in terms of how they're executed.
Something's going on there.
Maybe it's the directors or the directors of photography.
I think it's just the MCU likes to punch out like a bunch of films, just get them out there because people are going to watch them no matter what. And, people don't pay attention to the CGI and the web swinging. They just want character development and action and
and they want to see what
the
happens
Marvel
next.
Universe.
Yeah,
they want to see the next installment.
Right.
It's a shame that people don't appreciate a film for these type of things, because that's what redeems a film for me. It's it's the music, it's the CGI, it's the acting.
Right.
And if we have bad storytelling and bad villains in there, that's going to detract from my rating. But there's going to be things that pick it back up. It's a shame that people don't appreciate the Marvel films and pay attention to that in the MCU.
Right.
They just forget about the CGI and they want, I want villains. And,
Sure. In terms of the acting, obviously I think, again, Andrew Garfield, fantastic performance. Emma Stone, bloody love her. Absolutely love her. Who else? Jamie Foxx. Whoa. Look, Jamie Foxx, he's definitely given the worst material. Yeah. But I feel like he had at least some fun in the role. It's not like he sort of cowered away from the role. Think of the scenes where, he was in the mirror shaving, talking to Spider-Man in his head and having a fake conversation with himself. He's not half-assing it. He's really doing it. He's committing to it. And if you got a stupid villain, like, at least commit to it. You know.
You don't want to try to make a bad villain look good, right? Because then people are just going to make fun of you. Just go along with it. Yeah. People are going to hate the performance, but at least you won't look like as much of an idiot as you tried to make a bad villain good. Right. It's like I was going to say, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger with
Dr. Freeze.
With Dr. Freeze. Yeah. It's so bad.
Right. Yeah.
Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. Any of the other standout acting performances from you in terms of the positives or negatives? Any?
Look, I didn't mind Dane DeHaan, actually. I think he was pretty good. But, like you said, Andrew and Andrew and Emma just absolutely carry this film across the finish line.
They carry the whole entire franchise.
Yeah, they've got it on their backs and they're just moving along.
How good is Sally Field, mate?
Oh, I completely forgot about Sally Field.
Sally Field, the undisputed hero of these two movies. Because I was just about to say, Andrew and Emma have been carrying this franchise. Another person popped into my head. Sally Field. She's always there. She's in the first one. Big player in the first one. Has less to do in the second one. But when she is on screen, very impactful, very important. Gets Spider-Man into the right mood to do some Spider-Manning. Yep. And also isn't afraid to, have a chat with him, sit down, really open up with the Peter Parker character. Yep. I think the on-screen chemistry between Sally Field and Andrew Garfield was quite good, especially in some of the funny moments. Really good, at the start. Yeah. All right. We're going to go one more general topic. Sound. How did you find the sound?
How did I find the sound?
Yeah, so in terms of, the music but also the special effects and everything like that.
Where do I start, man? Hans Zimmer.
Oh. And Junkie XL.
Junkie XL.
How about that?
So good, man. I've always loved the Amazing Spider-Man 2 theme with the electric guitar. Right. Oh, it's so beautiful.
It is.
Probably one of the best superhero themes I've heard in quite some time.
I'd say the same, yeah.
Yeah. It beats a lot of the MCU stuff. It's just so forgettable. I'm sorry. I know you said don't bash on the MCU, but I'm going to do it, man.
It's hard not to compare.
Yeah, and the sound design, again, it's really, really good. It's crisp. Not much to say other than, near perfect.
How'd you find electro sounds?
Electro sounds.
Yeah.
I think his themes are really good as well. Yeah, all of the themes are really good, and on most of our podcasts, more so the recent ones, you're always talking about the themes, and I'm kind of always saying, I didn't really pay attention to it.
Right.
But no, I really paid attention to this one. The intro scene, absolutely loved the music kind of swelling up.
Right.
And I mean, I rewatched the ending scene quite a lot on YouTube, and I think the final when he's swinging around the manhole. Are we in spoiler territory?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Not really a spoiler, but
But towards the end of the film, the music does really
towards
swell
the end
up.
of the film, man, and then you
Hans
have
Zimmer
like
does that.
the spider logo like come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the music was really good.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we do have separate themes. There is an Andrew Emma theme. There's the Peter and Gwen theme. There's the Harry. So Harry has his own theme. Electro has his own theme. Rhino even has his own sort of electro-esque, but slightly different theme. And you can tell that's Hans Zimmer. That's what he does. He'll come in. He'll say, okay, this is what Batman's going to sound like. This is what Superman's going to sound like. This is what Wonder Woman's going to sound like. Junkie XL, you do the rest.
That's so funny, hey? Like, Hans Zimmer has created so many iconic superhero themes. When you
Right.
think of, like, a superhero now, you just associate that theme with them.
Yeah.
And, my God, imagine, like, being Hans Zimmer and just having that prestige about you. Like,
Yeah, he's done Batman. He's done Superman.
I'd feel so proud of myself to be able to, have people know a superhero for that theme.
Right.
So cool, man.
He's done the most iconic ones because he
Yeah.
has done the Nolan Batman, the Superman.
I mean, he's done, like, the biggest superheroes ever.
Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
Spider-Man. That's the top four, I
Top
think.
four, yeah.
Like, and nowadays it would be Iron Man. Also did
Iron
that
Man's
one.
up there.
He also did
He's
that one.
also done.
And yeah, look, he's done the best. And honestly, this man is a god,
Yeah.
and we won't stop praising him. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, let's get into some spoiler territory now. So if you have not seen the Amazing Spider-Man 2, we're going to get into some spoilers now. We both would recommend you go check out the film. All right, spoilers. Let's start at the very, very beginning. First frame of this film, the first shot of this film is a watch, ticking watch. We see the hands go up, foreshadowing the end.
Yep.
Obviously to do with a bell tower, but also gives us one of our themes of the film. And I'll just go on a bit of a intellectual rant here.
Yep.
Okay, there's two themes in this film, and it's interesting because a lot of these sorts of movies don't really have, very distinctive themes. But there's two. Okay, so the first one is time. Okay, no one can stop time.
Another great theme by Hans Zimmer, might I add.
Things will. Life will progress. No one can really, no one can stop it. No one can stop things from happening.
Yep.
That's the first theme, okay? Second theme is hope, okay? Spider-Man is continually referenced throughout the movie as a symbol of hope. It's referenced by Peter Parker himself, says, I like to think he gives people hope. Harry Osborn says, you don't give people hope, you take it away. And Aunt May says, people don't have anything to hope for anymore.
Yeah.
So we have two themes, right? Time, no one can stop time, hope. Big hard hitters come in at the end, but set up in that first shot for time. The first theme there.
They utilize the themes really well, actually. Like you said, they set them up at the beginning.
Right.
And then they kind of harken back to that at the end. And like you're probably going to go on to say, like the bell with the
Right. Yes.
clock
So
tower.
that's another.
Yeah, you told me about that, and I've paid attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah. When we do get over and done with that parents bit at the very start, bell hits, and it's the same bell that we hear at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just cruel how it foreshadows. It's because Gwen Stacy, she's a doomed character. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in that theater and you know the history of Gwen Stacy, like she's basically made to die. Like that's the thing about
that's
the
her
character.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings out something in Spider-Man. It gives him a lesson, And Stan Lee's often said that like Gwen Stacy is Peter Parker's sort of true love, and then MJ is sort of like well, obviously another love of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gwen Stacy always sort of gives Peter that scar, you know, and so there's a very real consequence, and yeah, they're just so brutal with it in this movie. They give it to you from the get-go. It's like, okay, time has started, like, ding.
It started. It's ticking.
It's it's a bit rough. But to go back to that parents monologue, what did you think about just the entire inclusion of that story with the parents? A lot of people criticize it heavily.
Yeah.
In terms of Peter Parker's parents and what happened to them.
It just could have done without it, if I'm going to be completely honest. It didn't need it. Because mainly because there's so much already going on in the film, so they could have cut other things and kept it in and it would have worked well. But in terms of the time frame that they had, they didn't need it whatsoever. It was just kind of meaningless. I think Sally Field could have carried that whole parental department on her own. I really liked her in the film. And I wish they had more of her, if I'm going to be completely honest. I liked her in the first. I liked her even more in the second. So, yeah, they probably should have stuck with that and continued with that because that was great. But, yeah, in terms of the whole opening with the plane, it was just pretty bad. Yeah.
Pretty insane action sequence, by the way. For like this is like Spider-Man's dad.
Yeah.
He's a scientist.
Yeah. He's just some ordinary dude, right?
He's like in a fist fight with this like extremely dedicated agent. Like I wrote down, right? This is what I wrote down. Okay. So they're fighting over this this computer. He's uploading his work to this Roosevelt sort of like data center.
Yep.
And he's uploading it on the plane, and God knows how he still has Wi-Fi when the plane gets sort of like blown to pieces. But but regardless, right? So this agent shows up. Turns out this agent is of Norman Osborn, so he's an enemy. He's going to try to stop Richard from uploading the data.
Yep.
And the plane.
Can I just jump in? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
When I was watching this, the first thing I wrote down is, what are they uploading?
Right.
So this intro scene just kind of throws you like a bunch of things. Like he's uploading something. There's this guy on the plane that's trying to kill him, and it's like, what's happening? I haven't been told anything, man. Like, and then later on you learn about it. And
it's that video, right? I think.
Yeah. It's all to do with that video and how he is the what they're kind of looking for.
Right.
But at the start, I was just so lost, man. Like, so much is going on, and I just
For sure.
I couldn't remember anything, mainly because I haven't watched this film in so many years. But like, they don't introduce you to anything, and that's like a big no in filmmaking. You don't do that. Like,
Right. You can do a bit of mystery, like, at the start of The Dark Knight, for example, you don't really know who the Joker is. You can still make an entertaining opening scene.
Yeah.
But we sort of already, like, we care about the Joker because he's the Joker.
I know. Like, no one knows who this scientist is and this dude with a pistol. Like,
I feel like they locked themselves in a corner here because they sort of set it up in the first one. They sort of, hinted at, Norman Osborn is alive in the first one. That's the whole reason why Dr. Connors is working on the lizard DNA. Because you know how that guy came in, the black suit guy came in, and he's like, if you don't do this, we're going to shut you down. Norman Osborn is dying.
Oh, yep.
So they set it up, and they sort of had to deliver, but I don't know, it's always a bit boring.
Yeah,
a lot of people really, really don't like it, and to be honest, I think it's fine. Like, it doesn't really bother me. Like, sure, keep it in. It's interesting. It's something we haven't seen before. Peter Parker's parents have always just like mysteriously not been alive. Yeah. So it's nice to know at least why they died. It's nice to sort of have that mystery solved. And
I think you're a lot more, you want the explanation, you want the story behind it, and it kind of follows through into the MCU Spider-Man, where, you want to see Ben Parker because that's an essential part of Spider-Man's storyline. That's who he is. So, it's no surprise that you wanted this stuff in the film because, it is essential to Peter Parker as an individual. I mean, it's his parents, so... It's a big part of him,
Yeah, just to go back to that really incredibly dedicated agent who's on the plane fighting them. Like, I don't care what's on that laptop and what this guy's being paid to be up there, but it's not worth that much.
No.
Like, this plane is falling apart and things are blowing up. They're all going to die. And he's still, the only thing he cares about is that laptop.
Yeah. It's like he has a personal, like, goal to do it, though. If I die, I don't care. I need to get this laptop.
It is insane how dedicated he is. I'm like, bro, just like grab a parachute and just jump out, man.
Yeah.
Like, they're all going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a bit ridiculous.
So he has a gun, right? And
Yeah.
and I think his dad, Richard, ends up getting the gun somehow. Or I might have been wrong.
Yeah, he gets the gun.
He gets the gun.
Yeah.
And
So he
then-
shoots the window.
So he's pointing at the dude, or he's pointing at the window.
Yeah.
Why didn't he shoot him?
Why didn't he shoot the guy?
Why didn't he shoot the guy? Save his wife. Save the mother.
Yeah.
And then
I
fly
think
the plane down.
I think the mom was already dead. And that was
But
the
either
thing.
way, like,
You definitely shoot the guy. Maybe it's
Shoot the guy.
Maybe it's because he knows it's a Spider-Man film and he can't. You know.
I remember watching that. I was like,
He pointed at his wife at one stage, pointing the gun at his wife, and then he moves it a bit to the left to shoot the window.
yeah.
And I'm like, mate, I think the plane's already going down. I don't think smashing the window is going to make it go any faster.
There's just so many, like,
What the hell moments?
yeah, exactly. Like, bad moments in general. Like, there's so many really good moments.
Right.
And then, oh my God, like, just so many of these moments
Okay,
just
quickly, let's
piss me off.
let's move on. Let's get to the actual Spider-Man part of the movie. Okay. Insane first action sequence. Obviously, we get that bell, get the Spider-Man symbol, transitions into Spider-Man free falling out of the sky. God knows how he got up there so high, but he's falling down. He's falling down. And
That's such a good point.
I like to think that helicopter that we see later on gave him like a big...
He, like, swung up.
and they just gave him a lift, because we see Spider-Man gets a lift on
I mean, he
various
can always,
vehicles.
like, lift himself up.
Yeah, he can always just like shoot himself
Yeah.
really high in the air. Sure.
Who knows? I mean, it's Spider-Man.
Maybe he has a private jet.
Yeah.
And so he's falling from the sky. Incredible swinging.
Yep.
Great music.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this is superhero action. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Alexis Savage.
I am the Rhino.
He's like, oh, make way for Alexis Savage.
God,
Like, he
man.
literally says, I am Alexis Savage. Like, he says his name. He's
Like
in
I-
the car. No one can hear him. He's just going like... It's funny.
And he's just sitting in his car, like, driving, like, thinking, I am Alexis.
It's like... it really is like a movie in a movie. It's like
so
it's like
bad.
someone was like, okay, you need to introduce yourself here so we know who you are.
Yeah, it's like he knows he's in the movie. He's like,
pretty
hey,
much a
people
good
don't know who I
performance.
am yet, so I need to say my name. That's how storytelling goes, right, guys?
Yeah. But yeah, look, incredible swinging.
Yeah.
The music's really uplifting, and Spider-Man's doing front flips and back flips, and everything's like really exciting. And so I think everything really works. For me, the villain works because it's just bloody hilarious.
It's
like,
just stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And Spider-Man is not sort of a character that should be given like those more of like the Nolan-esque treatment of like, you know, the realistic, you know, down to earth, because like we have Electro, we
Yep.
have Green Goblin. Like,
I mean, come on, like, his villains aren't serious. If you look at
Exactly.
the comics, they're all wearing, like, Halloween costumes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like, while the TASM series did make it more realistic, it made it more realistic in the sort of the human aspect, you know?
Yep.
It doesn't sort of say, just because we're going to invest more in the human side of the characters, doesn't mean the villains are going to be any less stupid than they were previously.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have a serious problem with the Rhino, but it's just fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, the character's just absolutely stupid, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
played by, like, a horrendous person. No offense
It's
to
played
the
by a
actor.
British actor, so he's putting on a Russian accent.
It's so bad. Why did they make him a Russian mobster? Like, come on.
It just seems a bit too much.
Like, they just underuse the character so much, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I hate it.
He just comes in at the beginning and the end.
But, like, why even put it in there? You know, they were just putting it in there just to set up the Sinister Six. Like they needed the rhino,
Right.
so we'll put him here and here and kind of make it look like it's a complete storyline, but it's not. It's missing the whole middle
Yeah,
section. Like,
yeah. The whole middle, he's in prison,
yeah,
just chilling.
somehow, but his suit's in Norman Osborn's
Yeah,
basement.
but they break him out and they give him the suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who breaks him out?
Fierce.
Fierce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oscorp. Yeah.
Oscorp.
Yeah. Right. Goodness me. Where are we now? Knock, knock, Mr. Criminal. That was funny. I'm sorry, but this is the funniest Spider-Man in
Yeah.
terms. Andrew Garfield's really good at the quips, I feel.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think there's any debate to be had.
It's an essential part of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think the dialogue from him was pretty good in this film.
Hey, you can call me Webhead. You can call me amazing. Just don't call me late for dinner. Do you
Yeah.
get it?
I hated all of the amazing, like,
Amazing drops.
oh god, it
They
was
should
bad.
call you the Amazing Spider.
So bad.
Yeah, it's like, haha, get it? Because that's the title.
Bro, when the truck was going through like the intersections, it was like flinging cars. People are in those cars, bro. They're dead.
It's all like happy-go-lucky Spider-Man's making jokes and everything. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like, I hope there's no one driving that car. Oh, no, someone would be driving
Yeah,
that
it's
car.
like, knock, knock, Mr. Criminal. Grandma's over here dead, lying on the street.
Oh, that's so funny. See, and then you'd have like, imagine if this was a Batman movie. People like, oh my god, you say like Batman doesn't kill? He just killed like 17 people. You know, it's good stuff. Look, I mean, we're 50 minutes in. We haven't gotten past the first act yet.
We can just skip the whole middle section.
Spider-Man saving Max. Look, I have to mention this bit. Spider-Man takes time out of his incredibly busy schedule to fight criminals.
Yep.
Like, to pick up this pedestrian who he's never met before. And the pedestrian's like, why did you save me? I'm a nobody. And then he actually takes the time to actually tell him that you do mean something.
Yep.
Like, it's going to be okay. Sort of like that reassuring nature of superheroes. And I feel like that little moment there is the absolute perfect sort of symbol of what a superhero is.
Yep.
Not only to people in the universe of Spider-Man, so like the people in this world, the TASM world, but also us watching superheroes. Like, that's why we watch them, because they make us feel like everything's going to be okay.
Empowered.
Exactly. Right. And yeah, so that moment for me is just one of the most incredible, like, one of the best sort of superhero moments. Like, it's not, like a huge action sequence or a part where, he lifts Thor's hammer or whatever, It's just a pedestrian, you mean something, and he does it with the kid later on as well, but it's the strength of this Spider-Man, there's little moments.
His strength comes from the people,
Right.
the people of New York is what make him a superhero. Without that, I mean, what have you got? You're not really a superhero. Who are you saving? But yeah, I agree. I think that was a really, really wholesome moment with Max. And to be honest, I don't really mind Max as his, what would you even call it, like human form?
Yeah, right. His alter ego.
Yeah, his character's a bit, he's got questionable dialogue and, it gets a bit annoying at times, but I enjoy it a lot more than, him as Electro.
For sure.
I quite like, him being the vulnerable Max who, he's always just kind of degraded and people don't recognize him. He's always just kind of by himself.
Yeah.
And I quite like that character trait about him. It's just a shame that they made him like some blue dude who has anger issues.
Right, yeah. I got so much anger. It's my birthday. I'm gonna light my candles.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. How good is it when Spider-Man gets hit by a car and the car keeps going?
I picked this up, right?
Yeah, so
Stop the car.
so Spider-Man's in the road at the end of this action sequence, and he sees that there's a car coming, and he does like this funny scream, and he gets hit by the car, and then the car just keeps going. Surely, if you run into Spider-Man, you'd stop.
Yeah.
But
I mean, who was driving the car?
A police officer, I assume. It was a police car.
They have some questioning.
So they're secretly like hating Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay, I gotta make this look like an accident.
It's like
And
hired by Osborn.
they just like keep going, and Spider-Man's like on the phone, and they just keep driving him.
It's got like a personal vendetta against him. It's like he killed his wife who was in one of those cars.
One of the cars from the beginning. It's like the guy's like inside, like what you don't see is the guy inside the car, and he's like, Spider-Man, you kill my wife. I'm gonna kill her. Yeah, I thought that was just like a brief lapse of logic from.
There's a lot of plot
movie.
holes in this, isn't there?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not really a plot hole per se, but like it's just something that could easily have been tweaked.
Fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did stop and then we just didn't see it, but
Or even if like Spider-Man like swings away, like Spider-Man was just kind of hanging there. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of funny though that like he's
Yeah.
on the front of a car and he's talking to Gwen on the phone. But yeah, I don't know. Peter and Gwen's chemistry, we see that sort of come in really well when they're on the phone, but then also after the graduation ceremony. We also see a bit of Captain Stacy in those sort of ghost forms. What did you think of that? Did that add to the sort of the story element for you of the guilt and the guilt factor or anything like that?
Again, they could have done it a lot better.
Right.
And it's an interesting mechanic, and I appreciate them for trying to do it. It just didn't work for me. It was more weird than it was,
Right.
emotional and kind of helping the story. It didn't need it. It could have just stood alone as it's just a standard action superhero film.
Right.
Yeah, bringing in the whole Gwen. Oh, what's his name? Mr.
Captain
Stacy.
Stacy.
Captain Stacy.
Yeah.
Bringing in Captain Stacy. And, I was thinking actually, because, a lot of people probably hadn't seen the first film, you especially. So imagine you watching this for the first time. Like,
Yeah,
who is
yeah.
this guy? And a lot of people just tend to watch superhero films when they come out in cinemas and they have no connection to the previous films.
Right.
So it's probably got a lot of the audience thinking, who the hell is that? And yeah, it worked not as well as I would have hoped it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it was a bit like in your face, like could have probably been dealt with a bit more subtlety. You know, I think you could easily have gone a bit more from perhaps like Captain Stacy's wife, maybe. Like maybe instead of this ghost, maybe Peter does go to sit down with that family for dinner.
Yep.
And maybe Captain Stacy's wife is a bit like cold to him or something.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yep.
That would be interesting because then that's real world ramifications. Peter tries to connect with Gwen, but then Gwen's mum is sort of like taking that role of like, you're bad, like I don't want you.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't know that Peter's Spider-Man, does she? So
they just they set it up in the first film and they kind of felt obligated to continue it. And like you said, it's just a trap of filmmaking. You get into this sort of groove of it and you feel like you kind of have to deliver it now because you've set it up. But a lot of the times you don't have to. I mean, it could just quite as easily be left as Captain Stacy, saying, cut Gwen out of your life.
yeah.
And then Spider-Man, without Captain Stacy interfering, he's facing his own self-torment of whether he should be, deciding to stay with Gwen or cut her out.
Yeah, I think he
That
can do that
alone is
himself.
enough.
I
Yeah.
think you can easily get Aunt May in and be like, Aunt May, I'm struggling with this. But then it is really hard because of this whole secret identity situation,
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe, halfway through the film, Aunt May should have just been like, I know you're Spider-Man, mate. Let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about what is right and wrong in the situation because we need somebody else for Peter to express that guilt because it is a really interesting aspect of the film. And yeah, having sort of Captain Stacy's sort of stern ghost appear every now and then. He only appears sort of like at the start and then he comes in right at the end as well.
Yep.
And so he's sort of like, oh, he's coming back. She's going to die. So I don't know. But that brings me to another thing, just mentioning Sally Field just then. after sort of the opening scene, we get the your face is filthy. I was cleaning the chimney. We don't have a chimney sort of scene, and that's so funny. It cracks me up
pretty
every
good, eh?
time.
Yeah.
What did you think of the chemistry between Sally Field and Andrew Garfield for the funny scenes, but also for the emotional scenes?
It works both ways. I think they're very, very well on screen together. They have great chemistry, like you said. I actually really like Sally Field as Aunt May. I think she's great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say she alone carries the emotional aspect of the film, but she does carry a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, she just does a fantastic job as this, this sort of parental role for Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And, sometimes we just need Peter Parker. We don't need Spider-Man. We need Peter Parker. And just for Peter Parker to go home and talk to his aunt, I honestly quite like that a lot more than Electro flying around and killing dudes.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting to me of this film. And it's a shame that the company just decided to cram all of these supervillains into one film and forget about what made the first film so good. And that's just a continuing error that these films have. The first film, the villain didn't work for me at all. I thought it was pretty bad. And the second film, even more so. You've got 3 of them and they're all just pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said on my review of the first, if the film can only be as good as its antagonist, and in this case, it's not good. So... yeah.
It's such an incredible difference between the protagonist, like how Spider-Man is portrayed and performed, and how his love interest is portrayed and performed.
Yeah.
And then it's like you switch to a different movie when you go to an Electro-only scene or an Electro and Harry scene.
You don't have anyone saying, "Oh my god, Electro fan base over here." Like, no one's saying that, man. Like, no one wants him back for No Way Home. No offense to Jamie Foxx,
right?
But no one wants that portrayal back because it just
it
didn't work in this film.
It is odd.
Yeah, they wanted to bring in the aspect of the multiverse. They don't want Jamie Foxx. They don't want Jamie Foxx as Electro. They want the multiverse. Right. And the way that they know the multiverse is going to happen is if Jamie Foxx comes back. Right. So it's not that they want Electro. They want the concept of the multiverse. Right. Yeah.
So you think Electro holds the key to the multiverse somehow?
No. That was just more so... this character from this franchise is coming into here.
Right, so they have to bring someone
the
across.
Multiverse.
Yeah, I think they should have just taken Dane DeHaan then.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
Dane DeHaan, I think, is better.
Yeah.
But...
and he's also alive at the end of the film.
Exactly.
That's a big
Why
thing
Electro?
too. It's a big thing too, isn't it, John Watts, when characters die?
Yeah, so you just bring back all the dead ones.
No one ever really dies. No one's ever really gone. Didn't you hear Luke Skywalker say that in Rise of Skywalker? No one's ever really gone.
That makes me cry.
There are no consequences here. All right. I love the breakup transition. So when they break up, Spider-Man sort of... Peter Parker, sorry. He sort of like walks away, sort of sad. It turns into a bit of a run. It seems like he's a bit frustrated. And then straight from there, we get some... Spider-Man on top of a building, running really fast, jumps off. And you can sort of, why that works for me, one is because, oh my God, that jumping off scene is
love that scene,
bloody beautiful, mate. Yeah. How the camera follows him down is so cool. And it's sort of like an over-the-shoulder shot of him jumping off the building. But also it works from the Peter Parker aspect. He's just been dumped by, the love of his life. So he's really frustrated. And what does he do? He takes it out on through his Spider-Man character. Like he does that to a sort of release. And I love that sort of the contrast of the mask, with these masked heroes, the Bruce Wayne. What is the mask of Bruce Wayne? Is it Bruce Wayne or is it Batman? Like what's his true form? Yep. And then you have the Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Like I love that sort of dynamic and that scene where he gets like delivered a gut punch, like emotionally. And then he just runs off a building and jumps straight off like he has no care in the world for his safety. Just bangs, goes for it. And then he's saving everyone.
Yep.
I don't know.
I really like that dynamic as well with the superheroes. not even superheroes. I mean, just to bring up like a really random one here, Patrick Bateman as well.
Okay.
He kind of gets confused as to, whether he's this businessman or whether he's
Right.
this absolutely brutal, murdering,
Yeah,
psychotic man.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's played by Christian Bale as well. And to mention Christian Bale as the Batman,
Yep.
he also gets confused as to whether he's Batman who wears masks and saves people, or is this multi-billionaire billionaire playboy who doesn't really do anything. He's just Bruce Wayne.
Right.
And with this, I think it worked really well.
The contrast
between them. Because if you just stayed the whole film as Spider-Man, you're going to get sick of Spider-Man. There's such thing as too much Spider-Man. Admit it, there is. You need some Peter Parker in it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think
Peter Parker's the best part, isn't he?
yeah, I absolutely love this humanized version of Spider-Man. I mean, it's just so good to just see a Spider-Man put down on Earth sometimes, superhero rather. Just a superhero interacting with people and just being like one of us.
Yeah. Taking the time to talk to some person who's never met before.
Yeah.
And the person saying, why did you save me? I'm a nobody. Nobody cares about me. Spider-Man says, no, I care about you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the key. You're my eyes and ears out here. You have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go save this person now. See you later.
Yeah.
Off he goes. Superheroes. Pretty awesome stuff. All right. Moving onwards. I was watching the American flag. Great laugh. Got a laugh from the audience here. Between me and Jayden.
Yeah.
Harry's theme is great. Obviously, now we get the sort of introduction of Harry's character. How did you find... I know you mentioned Dane DeHaan.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find the Harry Osborn character? So the sort of, kicked out by his dad and he's sort of coming back into this business world and he's got to sort of figure it out. Like, how did you find the Harry Osborn character?
Just to start it off, I found it quite interesting how they decided to go with Harry Osborn over Norman Osborn.
Right.
Because obviously Norman Osborn is more known to be, Green Goblin. And when you kind of put it against Electro, in the comics, I don't read many comics, so I'm not quite sure, but the comics, Electro and Green Goblin are kind of, this of the same age. That is Norman Osborn, Green Goblin. So it's kind of confusing when you bring in this younger version of Green Goblin who is the same age as Electro. It's a bit of a weird confusion.
Right.
But moving past all that, I actually really liked Dane DeHaan's portrayal of the Green Goblin. I think he did a lot with what he was given. He has this sort of sinister aspect, brooding, dark. Like I mentioned, some of the scenes with him turning into the Green Goblin, I couldn't watch it. It was just not this time around, but when I was, however old I was, 7 years ago, 12 years old, that stuff was brutal, man.
It's quite horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. And yeah, I think that was a very smart choice when you compare it to, what's his name?
James Franco.
The Norman.
What do you mean?
Who's the older one in Spider-Man?
Willem Dafoe?
Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Like when you compare his costume
Goodness me.
to this...
Which one do you like more? Do you like the more realistic I have a disease Green Goblin, or do you like the Power Ranger suit?
Yeah, I mean, the Power Ranger one's pretty hideous. They're not really... They're both pretty bad. But
what would you do differently?
Yeah, they're very, very different.
Yeah.
I quite like how this one, in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, incorporated the disease into it.
Right, yeah.
Like, the first one's just this dude wearing a green costume.
Yeah, and he's got, he does get injected with stuff.
Yeah, there's just a lot of problems when it comes to, introducing the costume in this one.
Such a stupid villain. I don't know how it's the most popular Spider-Man villain.
I don't know.
Because I know it's that and then it's Venom. Bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe Willem Dafoe just, made it iconic and it's just sort of been there since,
There's a scene from the film. I'll get into it when we ever do it on the podcast. But like, there's this final scene, and
when he goes, oh
yeah, you know the exact one. It's so bad. It's so bad that it's good.
what? Oh, he's so meme worthy. It's so funny. It's so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is completely different, you know.
I'm
This
something of a scientist.
Yeah, that's more of like, you know, complete cheese fest.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, they wanted to try and do like this diseased person who's sort of gotten paranoid that they're going to die from this disease. So so what sort of lengths do they go to try to cure themselves?
Yep.
Which is quite a deep topic when you think about it. But in terms of the disease aspect, his father died quite old. And so, Harry, you've got a few years to figure it out, mate. Like,
Yeah.
you don't... It seems like he was told that he was going to die, like, in a year.
Yeah, he's just really anxious about it.
Right. And look, you would be if you didn't know, and perhaps, you know, he's young, so he's going to be a bit more anxious.
Yeah.
And his father sort of just, like, left him behind to deal with it, which is kind of a dog move, but I guess he didn't have control over it.
That was brutal, eh? He's like, guess what? It's genetic.
Like... And then the next scene is like, hey, see ya.
Yeah.
I'm dead now.
Yeah.
Right.
Deal with it.
Yeah. Ah, bizarre. Yeah, I don't know. I really like Dane DeHaan though.
I
as
much
Green-
preferred him as just Harry Osborn.
Harry Osborn. Yeah.
His Green Goblin was just not as good.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, how he had this sort of psychotic aspect going on with him, like kind of jokery sort of thing going on. Like, I don't know, it didn't really work with me, and how he's like just like his posture and how he moved about. And yeah, I much preferred him as this lonely teenager just trying to figure out what he's doing with his
Right.
life, and just trying to become, you know, what his father wants him to be. He wants to live up to the Norman Osborn name. I preferred him much as that rather than this just generic villain.
I agree. Yeah. I think the scenes where Harry Osborn is chatting to Peter Parker, I think those scenes are really quite strong.
Great scenes, yeah.
Especially when, you know, Harry realizes that he's going to need Spider-Man's blood to cure him, or at least he thinks so. And so he sort of tells Peter, he's like, you know him. I need you to go and find him.
Yeah.
And Peter sort of, you know, is dealing with that. So yeah, I enjoyed Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's better than the other guy who plays Harry Osborn.
By the way, BJ Novak, Ryan from The Office.
Ryan from The Office is in the movie.
What?
He's one of those castings where it's like, I'm sorry, mate, but you can't work in movies ever again. Honestly,
Yeah.
everyone from The Office, like, I know you've watched A Quiet Place recently with John Krasinski, so Jim from The Office. But like, there's some roles, man, where you just can't see,
Yeah.
you can't see any other character. Especially when you've spent so much time watching The Office.
Watching it for so long.
Yeah.
I agree to that on a certain aspect. BJ Novak was just a bit weird in this role. He's
Yeah.
kind of underused, such an A-class actor,
Yeah.
and you just kind of chucking
Bizarre.
him in this nothing
He
role.
essentially plays Ryan from The Office, though, doesn't he?
He kind of, yeah. Maybe he is Ryan in the universe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I just wanted to go back a bit. So, Peter, or Spider-Man rather, he stops this bus. This is really early on in the film. So Rhino crashes and this bus goes like tumbling over.
Yeah.
It kind of mirrored the moment where Toby stops the train.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
He's
foot
got
in
his
the
arm
ground.
stretched out,
Yeah.
and he's stopping the bus. So I don't know whether that was intentional or not.
Right.
So we've seen it in Toby's trilogy, we've seen it in Andrew's duology, and we've seen it in Tom Holland's soon-to-be trilogy with the cruise boat.
Right.
So I reckon it's pretty cool that they're sticking with that.
Okay.
It's just a cool moment of Spider-Man. I think it's appeared in some of the comics as well, and it just shows, you know, he's carrying the community. Like he's
Yeah.
got his arms stretched out. To help
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good moment.
Very
yeah.
symbolic, yeah. I think definitely because obviously, you know, Toby has the train scene, Tom has the the cruise scene. I think if Andrew's going to have any scene, it's that Times Square
Yep.
scene where he saves all those people on that red step ladder thing.
Yep.
But we'll get to that. All right. On the way there, though, CGI looks incredible. Electro's theme is kind of bizarre. As what I said, like Junkie XL sort of maybe had too much fun with it. Bit of dubstep action.
Hans Zimmer's like, hold up there.
Hans Zimmer's like, okay, guys, just gonna go for a bathroom break.
Yeah.
It goes out. Junkie XL's like, okay, guys, we're gonna do electro scene right now. Ready? All right, I want everyone on dubstep. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Turn that up a bit.
Yeah. Felicia, what did you think of Black Cat in this movie, mate? With that little, not actually, Black Cat, but it's cool to see that character not really play much of a purpose, but it could have been a generic, receptionist or whatever.
Yep.
But it's cool that, it's Felicia Jones, and she is that her name? Felicia Jones? Is that her last name? I don't think it is. I think I'm confusing that with the actress, because the actress is Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones for Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see Felicia Hardy. She's got the black nails, which we spotted, and she's wearing all black.
Yep.
It's cool, and I just wish we got that.
I think it's a pretty good casting. I'd actually still like to see her as the Black Cat.
Yeah.
If the MCU doesn't jump on that, that's a shame. I would have liked to see her do that.
The Sony, they're going ahead with, Morbius and Venom, and give us a Black Cat.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
I love that film.
As far as I'm concerned, Black Cat has better material than Morbius or Venom. Because with Black Cat, she's like Catwoman, she's sort of steals from people, but for good reason, or, but she's sort of motivated by her selfish desires. That's good sort of character for a decent story for an anti-hero.
That's what I'm saying with Sony. They're running out of characters. I mean,
right.
I don't know who Morbius is, so when you...
Yeah, but Jared Leto is playing him too.
I know. It's a bit strange.
Bizarre, yeah.
But I mean, I think Black Cat kind of works in this. Again, they could have just done without her. But it's good that they didn't overuse her and try to create her own storyline. She's just kind of there.
Yeah, she's there for later.
She's set up for something else. So it's good that they didn't really incorporate her, but it's kind of laying low for now, and they'll uncover it later. So that's good.
For sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the sort of patience that you need with these franchises. You need to put this character in there and go, no, we're not going to use her.
Yep.
She's just going to be there, and then so then for the next one, then it's not a surprise when Black Cat's suddenly becoming a plot point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mate, we could run this franchise better than...
We could run any franchise, to be honest.
Honestly, we might as well take over Warner Bros. At this point.
Wow, we're so up ourselves.
Warner Bros. Give us a call.
By the way, why is Electro wearing a black hoodie? It's just like a continual thing that they do. Like Captain America chucks on a cap.
Oh, right.
Wow, Captain America's gone.
He's like, okay, how to disguise my blue glowy skin.
My completely blue skin, who, by the way, people can still see me face on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, there's not really much point. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know, man. The ground rule scene, I think you might have missed a bit of this scene. Like you went out for some reason, but it's the scene where Peter and Gwen are talking just before the Times Square bit. And you know how they're like...
I was watching it.
Yeah, okay. Yep. And that's one of the best scenes in the movie, I think. Just, you can tell that the improvisation occurring there between Andrew and Emma. It's just fantastic. Like, you can tell Mark Webb just said, okay, guys, this is the basic point of the conversation.
Yep.
Just go. And they did it. And they did it in the previous one. They did it here too. Chemistry is just so goddamn good.
Peter tries to hide behind a tree.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But yeah, I really love, the whole ground rules scene, with their sort of, Gwen tries to friend zone him at the start, and then they're sort of like flirting but not flirting, and it's just like watching a romantic comedy, but like one of the good ones. And this relationship is just so much better than every other goddamn superhero relationship we've ever seen, in my opinion. I don't think there's one quite as good.
Okay.
Ever.
I think.
Do you have any rivals? Superheroes.
I quite like Rachel and Batman.
What, in
Dark
Batman
Knight.
Begins?
In Batman Begins. I quite like them.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, this chemistry is just on another level, right? Yeah. It's so good, and what they're able to do with it on screen, I think they're so natural together. I'd really like to see them do something else together if they haven't already.
Right.
Because, I mean, they're both really good actors. They've been in many films that kind of display that. And like you were saying, I think this scene is just a very good way to show how good they are as actors. Just give them a platform to display their full potential. Because clearly they haven't. I mean, they just blew it out of the park in this film.
Yeah. And then to contrast that, towards the end of the scene, where you discover that Peter has been following Gwen.
Yeah.
More than once a day.
Wasn't there like a point in the first film where he had her like on his background or something?
Yeah, and he was taking photos of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell? What's going on?
Look, I kind of see what they're trying to do. They're trying to do like awkward teenager who's like a bit out of line, but he really likes the girl, but like you don't take photos of them when they're not looking, and you definitely don't follow them. And then
not to forget that they're like, how old are they?
They're supposed to be like 17 in this movie, mate. Like, because they're going off to college, right? So they just
18, 19.
They just graduated high school.
They're not 19 or 18, man. I just honestly kind of forgot about that.
And honestly, I don't know why they're so like Spider-Man things are so obsessed with being in high school, man. Like,
yeah.
What? Like, just make them. It doesn't change much of the plot. Just make them graduate from university or something. Like, I don't know, man. I'm ready for an older sort of Spider-Man. You know, like I'm ready for like a 26-year-old Spider-Man.
I'm ready for Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
That's the Spider-Man that they haven't done yet, and I feel like it would be very interesting. I feel like it would work very well. I want them to do that. Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, man. The whole age thing is its own video, really. You can make
it's always pissed me off.
Yeah, the ages and how they're telling us he's 17 when Andrew's 26.
Yeah.
Which he was.
Man, that's going to be a massive issue in No Way Home. I have no idea how they're going to tackle it.
I'm sure they won't change it, though. They'll just, like, they won't reference what... Because, like, they'll both be graduated. They'll both be, like, working.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll both be, like, full-time employees, surely. Unless one of them's, like, a Peter B. Parker.
Who knows?
Yeah. That better not be Andrew Garfield, I swear to God. I'll throw hands if they do anything bad to
John
him.
Watts has a lot to live up to.
I wouldn't want to be him, honestly.
Yeah.
If he is handling those two characters. Because, my goodness, if he stuffs it up, he will get death threats. Like, you just know. Not from me. And that's not okay, guys. Don't do that.
No.
But, like, that is the inevitability of the situation.
Yeah, it's going to happen, which is a shame. I mean, nothing deserves that level of threat.
For sure, yeah. Another thing that I really liked about this movie is the use of the Spidey sense. Used throughout the entire movie, not just, for one big scene.
Yep.
It's used throughout. Peter will be talking to Gwen, and suddenly Spidey sense turns around, looks towards Electro.
Mm-hmm.
Or, obviously the big slow-mo scene where we really see the Spidey sense, where the super fast movements come in, but we see it in slow motion. So,
Just to add on top of that, I like how it's not Spidey sense done. It's Spidey sense, we see what's happening.
Right.
We see him planning, we see him thinking, okay, web shooter's broken. Hand is trying to put on pole, other hand trying to put on pole. I'm going caveman mode here.
Right. Yeah.
We see it all.
This is in the Times Square scene, by the way, when he's doing the flips and it's in slow motion.
Doing all the flips, yeah. We see him planning it all meticulously, and that's good. I like that.
In a split second, and you really get to see that that's not something that Superman has. That's not something that Batman has. That's not something that, who's an enhanced individual in the Marvel Universe, that Captain America has.
Yeah.
They can't think that fast. That's Spider-Man's thing. So it's cool. Yeah, I completely agree. It's not just like my hair stands up. I've got to look at something. Oh, there it is. Then that's it.
You said you wouldn't do it.
You noticed.
That's all weird. That's all weird.
Yeah.
Why is Electro flying?
Yeah. What I want to research the physics behind that, because I feel like because he does create a magnetic force. I told you at one stage, like a metal pen moves towards him, so that means he's generating some sort of force. And surely, if he's generating a magnetic force, he can somehow generate a force to propel himself. But honestly, I don't like the fact that one, he flies, and two, he appears out of nowhere sometimes.
There's so many issues with the character, man, and like
Electro's just a write-off.
he's screwed. Like, is he a solid object, or is he like
Electricity,
and then things go through him,
Yeah.
and then I mean, there's so many just bad parts about it. It makes absolutely no sense at some points in time. I mean, the character is just, it's so bad on so many levels. I'm sorry, I hate the character so much. I can't put into words how bad it is.
I've watched this movie so many times, and if I'm ever going to check my phone, it'll be during the Electro and Russian scientist scene. Because my goodness, that is by far the worst scene in the movie. Shall we talk about that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Electro has been, after his little duel with Spider-Man, which we talked about just then, the Times Square scene, which is really awesome. And we find out that Gwen's might be moving to England. And so we have that big action scene. Electro's taken into prison. And then we have this bloody stereotypical Russian scientist with glasses, with opera music on. And
Why opera music?
Mate, I don't know. You'll have to ask the producers. So the second atrocious Russian accent in the movie, and he's testing Electro, and Electro is just talking to him. That's all for the entire scene. And then he goes back in, and then on to another scene. I'm like, okay, did this benefit the movie in any way?
Cut it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do, man. And this movie's quite long, so
It's already long, and it just could have benefited from you cutting out the scene. This scene added absolutely nothing apart from the fact that Electro self-proclaimed himself as Electro. It wasn't Spider-Man saying, Electro. It's Electro calling himself Electro, which is a big no. You don't do that. It's always the good guy gives the bad guy the name.
The trademark of bad writing is when one unknown character says to a main character, "Who are you?" And look, I'll give you an example about how it's been used poorly and how it's been used well. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, poor use. Rise of Skywalker. Random chick in the desert. Why does she care about who Rey is?
No.
Doesn't. I tell you who does care. J.J. Abrams. He wants this character to... So she goes up, she says, "Who are you?" And she goes, "Rey." But Rey's not good enough for this random woman, okay? This nosy woman. She wants to know more. She says, "Rey who?" She wants to know her last name. Okay, mate. Now, if a stranger came up to me and asked me who I was, I would give them my first name.
Yeah.
If they asked me for my second name, I'd say, no, that's a bit...
Who are you?
Wait, no, I would say...
It's the who are you paradox.
If they asked me for my second name and they're a complete stranger, I would just probably walk away.
Yeah. Get away from me.
But this lady says, "Rey who?" And so then she goes, "Rey Skywalker." And that's supposed to be a good moment for the audience. And a good one, though, is Batman Begins, when the thugs are like, "Oh my God, like, what on earth is that?" Because, like, we see this, like, black shape running around. And then, he grabs him out of the car and he says, I'm Batman. And, like, that's a bit cheesy, but it's done so much better than, "Who are you?" don't you know,
Yeah.
I'm Electro. It's like,
Or even like coming up, Matt Reeves' Batman, I'm Vengeance.
yeah.
So good. It's
Who
not
are you
the
supposed
name,
to be?
but it's
Right.
what you represent.
And the
So
execution, my God, it was bad.
Yeah.
Even from both parties, the Russian scientists, who are you? Like, oh, God.
Like, what's he gonna say? I'm Max.
Yeah, Max Dillon. No, you should know. You're studying me.
I'm Max Dillon. Who's Max Dillon? This adds nothing to the conversation. I got your name now, but what am I gonna do
You
with
should
it?
be like, who are you? Sparkly man.
Who are you? That one blue dude from the Blue Man Group. Who are you? Papa Smurf. Who are you? Avatar.
Any blue character. Oh, goodness me, Papa Smurf. Oh, I'm going to have to restrain myself from calling that for the rest of the podcast. Oh, goodness me. Oh, right. Whereabouts are we?
Just adding here, I really like how Peter just tends to go on and on and on and on. He just kind of loses himself in his dialogue because he just keeps on talking and talking and talking.
Right.
And there was this really one funny line. He's like, "God save the Queen."
Oh, right. That's funny.
Like that whole strand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so well done.
Yeah.
And Andrew just performs it so well.
That's improvised, you can tell.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. It seems to all be improvised, and if it is, I mean, come on, it's so well done. Yeah.
Yeah, so they walk into like the Oxford building, and Peter's so focused on talking to Gwen and telling her about these revelations he's had throughout the runtime, and he suddenly realizes where he is. He's like, "Where are we?" And Gwen says, "We're at Oxford," and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know." And there's this wide shot, and we see like 3 Oxford signs.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is great visual comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's not a joke that's being said by one of the characters. It's like literally just an observation that the audience gets to make.
Yeah.
And then it's funny, like we both laughed at that. And that was quite good. And then he gets the whole, I'm sorry, my fair lady, who am I? I'm John Hopkins.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recruit this lady for my Harvard research team.
Yeah.
Best, yeah. And fantastic. That's just Andrew Garfield in a nutshell right there, that little bit. And yeah, I think the best part of this movie is just the dialogue.
Yeah.
And well, between
Yeah, the
Peter
dialogue
and-
delivered from, Andrew,
And
Emma, Sally Field,
Right.
all of your good characters.
Right.
Because, I mean, come on. I'm Electro.
But mate, how good is some of Harry's dialogue? Everybody wants my money.
Welcome to the bonus round.
Oh, I'm sorry. That just wasn't the answer we were looking for. Can we talk about these lines that Harry Osborn has in this movie? Because, my gosh, he has some incredibly like funny lines, but they're not supposed to be funny, but they just are.
Yeah.
Like even at the start where he's like, you're all lawyers, right? And like the people on the board are like looking around like, oh my God, like this kid. And he's like, oh, giant lizards all around him, man. And calling Emma Stone a model employee.
Yeah.
Like that was a little bit of a boys,
Innuendo.
but a cheeky line there from Harry Osborn. And yeah, obviously, I'm sorry. It just wasn't the answer we were looking for. And then he goes, clear, and then he resuscitates him and he goes, welcome back to the bonus round.
It's so bad. And when you compare it to like Electro being on screen as well, it's just like the unstoppable duo of bad dialogue. You can't escape it because nothing there is to save it. Like you don't have Peter Parker. It's just bad on bad on bad. Like
Yeah.
and that's where the film falls apart. Is in those parts.
Right, I agree.
Which it could be so easy to just cut out or fine tune, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because there's so many good parts, and then you have all of these welcome to the bonus round parts.
But that's so bad that I love it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a Revenge of the Sith.
It's
kind
like
of
a
case.
meme, yeah. And this movie hasn't been memed. It doesn't get a lot of love, but that's a meme in my heart. The welcome back to the bonus round.
I quite like that. Yeah.
Would be reminiscent of us if we didn't touch on the music montage, the Coldplay-esque little music video. Obviously, Mark Webb likes a bit of a music video. Gone, Gone, Gone is the song. It's where Peter Parker is trying to recreate that meme with that crazy guy, and he's like, he has like this board, and it's like, got all this red writing on it, and he's like trying to figure out a mystery. Seems like Peter Parker was trying to do his own sort of, thing to up on his wall with all these, hundreds of photos. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how long that would have taken him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so did you think it was like? How did you think? Like, did you think it was necessary?
Interesting music choice to start with, but
Right.
I mean, it wasn't bad. Yeah, it suited the film well. It could have done without. It could have been in there. It was just average.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. How did you? What did you think about Peter Parker doing his own experiments?
That I like, actually.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was practical because at one point we see him testing electricity, and one of the batteries explodes, and then they reference that at the end.
Yeah.
They use the knowledge and they apply it.
Right.
And I always love that in films. If they've discovered something that can help them, they take advantage of it. Because a lot of films set it up,
Yeah.
but they don't use it. And when you see it, when you see a film do it, it's always it's a happy moment. It's like, yes, they've done it. So yeah, I really appreciate it that they have done that, and they've shown that they're capable to set something up and complete it. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. I love the Peter Parker aspect of doing his own, like making his own suits, doing his own tech, like putting in the hours as Peter Parker to then help him as Spider-Man, and using his brain to beat the enemies. I love that. It's always a really, an ideal final fight ending for me isn't a big punch up with cities falling and everything. It's the hero being smart, using their brain and figuring out a unique way to get around the situation.
I mean, think about The Dark Knight, right?
Exactly.
There is no ending.
Yeah.
Like, there's no big ending.
Yeah, and then compare that to Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I love when Peter grabs the spanner instead of his phone and it hits him in the head.
Yeah.
And he
That
gets
was
the
good,
web.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It cracks me up every time.
Yeah.
Peter and Gwen in the closet. Great chemistry. The kiss that takes place there was nominated for an MTV award. Because
I do remember you saying this.
the MTV awards have very odd categories. One of them being best kiss.
Yeah.
And so this is actually
That's probably going to get removed eventually. Like, let's be honest. Someone's
Yeah.
going to cancel the MTV Awards for that.
Yeah, it is a bit dodgy, but yeah. So this movie did take away the prize.
Yep.
So this is an award.
Oh, it got it, did it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is an award-winning movie.
Yeah. Which it shouldn't be.
This is a very prestigious movie. It actually won the MTV Movie Award. I won't specify which award, but
It won an award.
yeah. But I'll just reference the fact that once they do kiss, Gwen says, like, "You just kissed me," like she's surprised. Mm-hmm. But like, Gwen, you kissed him. Like, I watched that.
Yeah.
Like, Gwen goes in for it, and then she's like, "You just kissed me." I'm like, hang on, no. Do not blame Peter for this. That was you, my friend.
Secretly, she wanted it.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where do all these suits keep coming from?
what suits?
Everyone's suits.
Everyone, that's true. That is a fantastic point. Every single suit in this movie just magically appears.
Yeah. If Green Goblin becomes Green Goblin, boom, there's a suit that does everything he needs. It heals him. It makes him fly.
He knows how to use the glider.
Electro. He has a perfectly fitting suit.
Yeah.
And guess what? He has a lightning bolt on it, so it's customized.
Yeah. It's even got blue hints on it, mate. And
So it's not just
how about Spider-Man's suit?
where did that come from? that I can understand though, because
Yeah.
he's had a year.
Yeah.
But I mean, we go from one scene to the next, and it's happened in real time.
Yeah.
He's picked up Electro. They've formed a duo now.
Yeah. They've gotten in the car.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
driven to Oscorp. They've gone to Oscorp.
Where did he get the suit? Is it part of him? If so, why didn't he build it
Maybe
before?
he just made it with electricity.
God, man, like that's so bad. It's like a fundamental error that they knew about it. They didn't forget about it. They overlooked it.
Right.
And
Which didn't have, just
It's
didn't have the
so
brain power
annoying.
for it.
it's so annoying.
Yeah, that the whole Oscorp, like, oh look, there's a collider there, and oh look, there's a rhino costume there. It's very, very convenient.
Yeah. It happened twice.
Yeah.
Twice, man. I'll let one pass. I'll let it slide, but twice. That's just poor filmmaking.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great like observation though. That, like
So
every
bad.
single suit just comes out of nowhere. Goodness me. Apparently, by the way, Gwen actually helped make the new suit.
Oh, really?
Apparently, like the canon explanation is that like the first suit got like stuck in a turbine or something, and it ripped or something, and so then Gwen helped Peter make a new one, and I
Okay.
like that because Gwen does save Peter's ass a couple times in the movie. She's very important to the story and the success of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the real explanation for that is people didn't like the suit in the first movie, so they made a new one.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
That's exactly what happens.
That has to be the reason.
And by the way, my goodness, what an incredible suit he
It
does
looks
have
so good, eh?
in this movie.
So good.
It's my favorite. It's obviously my favorite superhero suit ever. I think it's one of the best looking suits ever. Definitely, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man suit ever. And look, the fact that it looks just as good in real life as it does in the movie is
Yep.
just a testament to the costume designers. What are
Yep.
your thoughts?
No, I think it's fantastic as well. And I like how they make it look real. It's not just plastic on his skin,
Right.
which you get a lot with, a lot with the MCU nowadays. The suit, you can see the wrinkles on it. You can see the imperfections on it. You can
Right.
see the wind picking up on his back.
Yes.
And that
I love
adds
that.
to the fact that it's part of the world. It's not CGI, and that's always so refreshing to see in costumes. Yeah,
Yeah, I love the ripples that come when he's falling down.
it's good. Eh?
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And they actually get the flapping of the material
Yep.
on the sound. So,
Yep.
goodness me, it just works out very well. All right, let me just go through my notes here. Maybe everyone has a side of them they hide, even from the people they love. Do you think Aunt May knows?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Aunt May definitely knows.
I don't know why she never said it, but I mean, she just inconspicuously knows.
Yeah, from that quote, it is pretty
Yeah.
pretty darn obvious that Aunt May does know that Peter is Spider-Man. And I like that. I think in the Raimi films, I think Aunt May as well does know that Peter is Spider-Man. And I think it's sort of like the dumb thing that she knows, but she's not going to tell him. And so
Yeah.
it's sort of like always that bit of mystery there.
Yeah.
And I like that. But I think in the third one, just tell him.
Yeah.
Then we can sort of, see something new.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that might have been the direction that they went, but we'll never know, I guess. Sally Field is the best Aunt May, in my opinion. Incredible acting, especially in that scene where Peter is telling her that she's enough.
Mm-hmm.
They have that emotional scene where Sally is like almost crying and Andrew's like tearing up as well.
Yep.
And they're sort of just like having a heart-to-heart in Peter's bedroom.
It's good.
Love that scene.
Yeah. Really, really good acting.
Great ending shot of Spider-Man on the wall after he's talked to Harry Osborn about whether to give him his blood or not.
Yep.
Harry is framed by generic white man in a suit.
Harry is framed by... What?
So there's a character in this movie
Yeah.
that I'll refer to as generic white man in a suit.
Yeah.
Generic bald white man in a suit.
Yeah.
That narrows it down. Because there's a couple generic white men in suits in this movie. But yes, he frames Harry at one point. I'm not entirely sure why. I think he just wants to control the company.
Yeah.
So for the money.
Yeah.
Peter maneuvering through rubble like a spider. Pointing that out to you when we were watching it. I like when that Andrew in the first movie went to the extra detail to actually move like a spider in the
We picked up on that as well in the first film, yeah.
Yeah. It's really one of the best parts about that first film is how he's sort of moving like he's not a human. Like he's moving.
I mean,
with
he's bitten by a spider, so he
he should
act like a spider.
Yeah. And Toby's does not. Toby's is like just a guy in a bright suit. Like
Pizza time.
I don't know.
I don't mean to rush you.
Yeah, go.
But like, we've got 15 minutes until we've clocked on for 2 hours.
I'm trying to go through. I'm going towards the end.
Speed round, lightning round.
Okay.
What's all your favorite things?
Oh, goodness me. This is not my favorite things that I'm putting in here. Can we skip to the end?
Let's do the ending.
Okay. Where should we go? You're my path. Oh, that scene is so cruel.
Yeah.
When Peter finally realizes that, you know what, Captain Stacy can get stuff. I'm going to, choose Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what, I'm going to go to England. And
Yeah.
little old me sitting in the cinema like, no, that doesn't work. Spider-Man can't go to England. And like, I would just, if I was next to my younger self, I'd just be like, she's going to die.
What is I'm just thinking, like, what would his name be? Like, Spider-Man Dem or like Spider Bro, Spider Lad?
Spider Lad. Spider Lad, innit? All right. So, yeah, I think they really tug on your heartstrings. Let's talk about that final fight. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the choreography and between the Electro and Spider-Man fight? How did you think that looked visually?
Visually, it looks good. I've always said the CGI in this film is pretty good throughout this podcast. But the choreography wasn't there, and it was just a bit of a miss for me.
Right.
I mean, we've got points, Electro is vomiting electricity, and it's like, why have that?
Yeah, he literally is vomiting electricity.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
And it's just a constant thing that they do that just shouldn't be included, like Max growing teeth and why include it, like
correcting his teeth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just stupid. And the whole fact that this finale pivots on this plane that they need to save is just atrocious.
The plane can
it can get stuffed, right?
The plane can get lost.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say.
It's just it's lazy storytelling.
No, it's not lazy. I just think it's just not necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
it feels like a bit of a cheat way for me, in a way.
For what purpose?
Well, they could have done something more interesting, and they just opted out to have civilians in danger. Like,
right.
I don't know. I feel like they could have done something more interesting. They had the opportunity, and they spent too much screen time on stuff that no one cares about. There's no.
I don't care about these. Like
no
those
emotional
two planes.
depth to it. If they die, I'm not gonna care. Like.
Yeah, because I don't know them.
I don't know them. So it's a shame that they did that.
Yeah.
But what's more important is the fact that we have this clock tower scene. And if you don't want to talk anymore about Electro and how bad that is, let's move on to the clock tower scene, because I think it's one of the best scenes in the film.
Yeah.
That, I do think that the choreography is great. We see the camera moving around in this small environment, and we are able to discern what everything is. We can see everything.
Yeah.
It's easy to digest. And, Spider-Man's quite a quick character.
Right.
So if you don't move the camera quick, you're not going to see everything. And it keeps up with it. So I like that. And I don't know, the clock tower scene, it just stands above all of the other scenes in the film, in my opinion. You've got a lot of good scenes throughout it, but this scene is very, very good in terms of emotional depth.
The stakes get higher. Once we deal with Electro, it's sort of like, okay, if this was a light-hearted superhero movie, it would end there.
Yep.
Right? And Harry would be a sort of tease for next time, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And his sort of transformation might have been like a post-credit or something.
Yeah.
But no, then the sort of, the music sort of gets a bit more lowered and a bit more concerning.
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of like this dreading tone that comes over the movie. So Harry comes in, figures out that, Peter is Spider-Man, and so he's gonna take away I'm gonna take away your hope. So then again, bringing back to that hope theme.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, what hits the fan, and things are at stake. And this is serious. It's not like that's what Spider-Man says to Gwen when she first shows up. Like, this isn't a joke. This is serious. You need to leave.
Yeah.
And look, she doesn't, and it's not her. Look, it's her fault, but it's also what she wanted. Like, it's not. A lot of people say Spider-Man killed Gwen Stacy.
No,
but
she knew she was in danger. She knew what she was getting herself into.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's unfair to say that Spider-Man caused her death. I think Gwen Stacy chose to do that.
Yeah.
But it's still obviously going to be tremendous guilt for Spider-Man. That's the whole point. But yeah, regardless, as soon as Harry takes Gwen, I always thought when I first watched it that she was going to survive. She doesn't, and my goodness, like the fight before she does get like dropped, is really quite serious. Spider-Man doesn't really punch people in the face.
Yep.
In this, he's punching Green Goblin in the face. He is. There's also a moment where he can't web onto anything when he's on the top of the tower and he's shooting the webs up. That's all Spider-Man can do. It's good. It's good that they actually chose to show that he was a bit helpless in that situation.
Green Goblin was kind of taunting him, He's just flying around.
Yeah. And we saw that in Homecoming when he goes onto the golf course and he just shoots the web. That was a joke,
he has
right?
to run. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was funny. But this is to use it in a different sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love that. Obviously, the shot where he's jumping up to grab Gwen Stacy when she's falling is one of my favourite shots in the film.
Looked great, yeah.
But yeah, Spider-Man is punching Green Goblin in the face. He's strangling him.
Yep.
Another thing you don't really see Spider-Man do. Usually it's like, in the Spider-Man game, you can only punch people if you hold down the square button.
Yeah.
The rest of it you're doing is kicking. So it's all non-lethal, Spider-Man's just here for a fun time. Like, he's jumping over you. He'll, maybe break a bone every now and then or send you to hospital.
The hospital bills will kill you.
Yeah. I won't kill you, but your hospital bill will. But yeah, he's not a brutal hero. Whereas in this, he really is. And I love that because it shows the consequences and the seriousness of the situation. And at one stage, which is awesome, he headbutts him.
Yep.
So, and you'd never seen a Spider-Man headbutt anyone before, or you probably never will, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's at stake here. Gwen's hanging down below. So Spider-Man's holding this clock together, right? He's trying to stop time.
Yeah.
What's the main theme of the film? Time will just keep going. No one can stop time, not even Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's another theme. The fact that superheroes are just one of us. Like, Spider-Man takes time out of his day to help the civilians.
Yeah.
He's a civilian himself. He can't stop time. So he's holding the clock together. He's going to do it. He's holding it. Green Goblin's restrained. He's holding it, and the clock breaks.
Yeah.
Just shows that not even Spider-Man can save everyone. And and I just love that. The fact that he's super strong. He was doing it. He was holding it, and it just broke. There's nothing else he could have done.
Creates a lot of tension as well, and I like how. You don't know. It could go either way. He could somehow save her, or as what happens, she obviously dies. And it could go either way. You have really no clue what's going to happen, and the way it sets up the tension to create that is just, it's so great because you're sitting there and you're like, what's going to happen? You're just sitting there. You can't do anything. You're kind of restrained as well.
Right.
It's a very clever way of doing it, and I think it was very effective in this sense. Yeah.
And having Gwen dangling there the whole time, she's holding on to, because she does fall at the very start.
Yep.
She falls, but they don't really put much emphasis on it. But he grabs her straight away. He's he attaches her. Well, he's holding onto the web, I think. And then obviously when the clock breaks, it cuts. She falls. We get that. When she falls.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. Oh, that always makes me feel like I'm going to fall with her. And yeah, what a well executed scene. Just there's enough slow mo without being obnoxious.
Yep.
Because obviously she's falling you know, probably like 15 meters, right? So it's going to be over pretty quick if we see it in real time. But then at the same time, we don't want it to be too long because she's falling.
Yeah.
There's enough slow motion for us to be like, oh, wow, she might fall and die here. So Spider-Man better, you know, do something.
Yeah.
But then there's enough time for it to feel like she literally just fell and hit her head, and now it's over. So yeah, I mean, Spider-Man does whatever he can. It's the perfect web, is what it's called. That's what Mark Webb called it. Like
The song.
no, it's in. Actually, I don't know. I don't think the song's called that, but but the web that he shoots, you know, with the little hand that comes out there, it goes so far. Like Spider-Man jumps, uses Spidey sense again. That's when he slows down. You know, it's usually when he's using his Spidey sense. And so the web sort of like is shot so that it goes through all the right, like little crevices in the thing.
Okay.
And so, because Spider-Man jumps down with Gwen and then he shoots it, he has to shoot it at the right time as well. And look, he does absolutely everything. Like, I can't stress that enough, because people will say, like, that's the dude who dropped Gwen. Yeah. No, he didn't drop Gwen, okay?
No.
Things happened. He did his best, I think.
He couldn't have done anything else, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing that I really like about it. Sometimes superheroes, you know, you do your best. Sometimes, you know, stuff happens.
Unfortunately,
yeah. Sometimes, you know, you can't stop time, and yeah, so my goodness, what fantastic acting from Andrew Garfield.
So good, man. So good. Even Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, just lying there.
You have to play dead. Yeah. So, I wrote down fantastic acting from both of them. I mean, Andrew Garfield just absolutely killed it in those final minutes. I think he was fantastic.
Yeah. And especially, you know, when he whispers, like, I can't do this without you at one stage.
Stay with me.
Yeah, and he goes through a bit of denial at the start. He's like, it's okay. And how he's touching her face and everything. It's just like, you can really tell that Andrew really cares about Emma. And he's really bringing that emotion into that scene. And yeah, my goodness, like, if any scene proves that he deserved better, like he deserved better movies, it's that scene right there, I think.
Yep.
And then, yeah, we get this bit of sad montage with a funeral scene. Most Spider-Man movies end with funeral scenes.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, there's an alternate scene where once Gwen has died, Harry starts laughing at the top. So Peter goes up and, like, brutally, like, smashes his face in. Yeah, and, like, stops, like, short of just killing him. Okay. And, like, realizes what he's done.
Yeah.
I like it how it is, I think.
No, I think the ending was very well done. Yeah.
However, there is an image of like Peter with his mask off, and he's holding the glider.
Yep.
It looks awesome. And I know Andrew would have pulled that off. But at the same time, once Gwen dies, the movie shouldn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
So we get this bit of sad montage. Everything's a bit depressing. And May's like, come on, Spider-Man. Got to get back out there, mate. And then we have the second theme comes in of hope. You know, Spider-Man is this hopeful character, and at the end of the day, stuff happens. You just got to keep going. That's one of the fundamental messages of this film. You know, even to superheroes, sometimes people die, and you just have to accept it.
Deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. And you just have to keep going. You know, not exactly move on. You know, bring that with you, but you've got to get back out there. Got to keep doing life. That's exactly what Spider-Man does. Hans Zimmer comes in. He says, "Look, guys, might not have been the best movie so far, but I'm going to give you a good ending."
Yep. Hans Zimmer never misses, right?
Yeah, he never does.
Could be a bad film, but no way he's going to be bad.
Final song is insane.
Yep.
I am Rhino.
Yeah, let's just skip over Rhino here. He's horrendous.
Yeah. On behalf.
I love the ending where he's like swinging the manhole though.
Yeah, great use of slow motion.
The missile sync with it. It's like boom, boom, boom. So good. Really well done.
Yeah, and then supposedly, right from then on is TASM 3. But would you have liked to seen a TASM 3, mate?
I would have watched it. I don't particularly really think I would have wanted it.
Right.
I think Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man. He probably deserves it, but I'm just not really invested in this sort of franchise.
Sure.
So I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
But I'm open to it. I would have watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how I pointed out that one...
I was gonna say yeah.
Yeah, that
Who
one
is it?
person, it's Mary Jane.
Is it Mary Jane?
Yeah, it's Shailene Woodley as Mary Jane.
There you go.
So in the final scenes of the movie, there's a shot from inside a cafe, and there's a lady facing away from the camera with red hair. She's got a denim jacket on and like a waist,
Of course.
like an apron on.
Yeah.
Because she works at that cafe. And
I should have known.
yeah, so that's Shailene Woodley as Mary Jane, and that's something that was shot, was written, everything, and
Completely cut.
yeah, just never going to see that, which is such a shame. I mean, hashtag release the web cut, am I right?
No.
There is a movement like that going on,
Of course there is. Every movie has it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently it's like 8 hours too.
Dear God.
Like, some people have been saying that, I'm sorry, but if your movie's 8 hours, you should be fired.
Yeah.
If you go in trying to make a 2.5 hour movie and you make an 8 hour movie, I don't even care if your name is Zack Snyder, you're gone from my production, as far as I'm concerned.
You should not be a director if you're doing that.
That's not a movie. That's a phase 1 of a universe.
That's just doing what you think is fun. That's just creating stuff. It's not a movie. It's just creating bleh.
It's just like, when kids are playing and they're like, so then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
Yeah. They can't stop, right?
Yeah.
Music segment?
Yeah, music segment. 2 songs going in the playlist this week, obviously. I'm Spider-Man. Actually, no, hang on. Not I'm Spider-Man. It is You're That Spider Guy.
Yep.
That's the final song. Mm-hmm. We're also going to put Cold War
Yes.
in. That's the one that we get where Spider-Man does that incredible slow motion shot where he's up above all of the skyscrapers and Mark Webb just goes, how about we just slow it down when he's up the top for a second there?
Yep.
Just absorb that. And
Can't believe you didn't put Coldplay in, man.
Coldplay? Nah, mate. They missed out. They missed out on the last one, then missed out on this one too.
On the last one?
Yeah, last movie.
Last movie?
Yeah, they had a song in the last movie.
Did they?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I
Kingdom
was like,
Come.
Empire Strikes Back.
You know when
Surely not.
I think Coldplay was born. Surely not. No, they would be. No, in the first movie.
In the first film,
it's when he's skating around. Look, final thoughts. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. I think what you're basically waiting for me to say is whether this film fails or whether it passes. So I'll explain everything first and then I'll get to my final rating.
You better explain.
Yeah. Look, I think this film, it's hit or miss at its core. It's
right.
You're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. There's a lot of great things in it. I think all of the stuff with Andrew and Emma and Sally Field is great. Love their acting, love their performances. What they did with the characters are great. And then, again, you have the villains who are just horrendous in every single addition to this franchise. It's never worked for me. They're horrendously bad. Some of the writing is just terrible. Some of the dialogue is terrible. But you've got good parts in it.
bonus round.
Exactly. It's so split down the middle.
Right.
And you wonder how it happens.
How do you have welcome back to the bonus round and then I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield sobbing over dead Gwen Stacy in the same movie.
Exactly. It's so
mind-blowing.
split down the middle.
Yeah.
And you wonder whether it's the same writing team doing it. So it's just a shame that some things work and some things don't work because you have the potential to make a good film, but you have all of these other things just dragging it down, just constantly dragging it down. Yeah, there's a lot of things I really like about it. I think the suit's great. I think the music is just fantastic. The acting, like I've said before, most performances are really good. The story's pretty average. I think it could have done with a bit more fine-tuning. But again, the villain's terrible. So I think this film, I had a great time with this film, and I think that has to come into account when I'm, rating a film. But yeah, you have to pay attention to whether it's actually a good film. And I
Yeah.
think, critically speaking, it's not a good film.
Right.
You know that.
Yeah.
But you have fun with it. It's Revenge
Yeah.
of the Sith. It's
Okay,
not
sure.
good. So it's right on that line. So I'm going to give it a C minus.
Okay.
It passes.
Yeah. Right.
It's on the very verge of it though.
Mm.
I'm gonna pass it
Okay.
because I had fun with it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's funny. Take your same dilemma and move it up one grade. And so I was sort of having the dilemma of B minus and C plus, and I'll go for the C plus. This time, obviously, like this movie gets an A plus in my heart. It's my favorite movie of all time, and yeah, it's a movie that I can always count on to have a fun time with because it is very nostalgic for me, and I really like the Spider-Man that's portrayed here. It's my favorite superhero portrayal. It's my favorite superhero movie. It's my favorite movie, like favorite whatever. Name favorite and then say favorite and then put a
Andrew, Spider-Man, favorite.
yeah
Boom.
favorite whatever. It's in this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, favorite soundtrack. Honestly, everything. And yeah, look, I would rank it higher than most people would in terms of Spider-Man movies. I think it's a lot better than some of the MCU movies, and I think it's certainly better than Spider-Man 3. And yeah, look, I genuinely enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I can see the flaws, but I sort of like accept them and laugh at them, and laugh with the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I love the community that's developed around this. I love the whole, Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man sort of fandom.
Yep.
And yeah, look, I'm forever a part of that fandom, and so that's really nice to have people actually like share it with. But yeah, look, I'll give it a C plus. This is kind of a question of my review integrity, because if I gave it, something like an A, I think I would just like lose all credibility. We have to use some sort of objectivity, and we have to try and, take into account the fact that we really like a movie and it has elements that we really like.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that fundamentally there's a lot of things that could have been better.
Yeah.
However, I do like Harry Osborn and the Green Goblin, like sort of works for me. Like, sure, the whole, corporate espionage thing was a bit odd, and the generic bald men in white suits. But like, I really like Harry Osborn and Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn, and obviously all of the human characters work really well for me.
Yep.
It's just when Electro gets his suit,
Vomits electricity
yeah,
and
and
throws
things.
teeth.
Yeah, honestly, just Electro, to be honest, from start to
Electro
finish.
is the heart of what is wrong with this film.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then you have like Andrew Garfield and Sally Field and, my goodness, Emma Stone, who are, carrying this movie. And the three of them are just brilliant. And I really do appreciate their performances and what they gave to this movie, because without them, this would be an absolute trash fire.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a 2.5 and I say that's low, but my goodness, if those three weren't in the movie, I would give it a 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, it has redeeming qualities for me, and I'm going to view it a lot favourably than most people, but I'd still recommend it for superhero fans. Give it a go. I think a lot of people would think that they hate it, but realise it's not that bad. Like, do you think the movie's standing, in your opinion, do you think it's gone up? Like, do you think
Yeah. I would say it's gone up.
Yeah.
It really needed a rewatch for me. Look, I thought it was going to fail,
Yeah.
like horrendously bad.
Right.
And yeah, it's very close on the edge.
Yeah.
But I had fun with it, man.
Right.
Like
That's
it's
all that
fun
matters.
to laugh at. Yeah. If you like a film, if you had fun with it, I think there's some, like you said, redeeming qualities there.
Right.
It's not a complete fail if you had a laugh. So,
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Anything else to add? We'll wrap
No,
it up
I'm
for today.
all out, man.
Okay, sweet. 2 hours, my goodness. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rewatch podcast. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search the Rewatch on YouTube. If you'd like to leave us a comment, let us know what you thought about the video, any thoughts that you have. We'll be sure to answer them.
If you're here, we still love you. It's been 2 hours. What are you doing? Go to bed.
My goodness. Or go do some actual studying, guys. Stop procrastinating.
You could have watched Spider-Man in this time.
Oh, no.
We're very close. Just cut out all the electro scenes.
Yeah, but then, I don't know. Yeah, I reckon. Or you could have watched half a Snyder Cut, mate.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening. We'll get out of here now. So bye for now.
See ya.